Hello, everyone. Welcome to episode 317 of Dial the Gate, the Stargate Oral History Project. My name is David Reed. I am privileged to welcome an actor I have been following for quite some time, Matthew Bennett, who played Jared Kane in the 8th and ninth seasons of Stargate SG-1. But you probably know who I'm talking about. That suit-wearing, smarmy Cylon. I know him best as Aaron Doral in Battlestar Galactica, one of the three greatest sci-fi television series in the last 2 decades. Matthew, welcome to the show. I appreciate having you. Thank you for being here, sir.
Well, thanks, David. It's great to be on your show, and thanks for the invitation. It's a pleasure.
Where are you? What is all this stuff behind you?
I am in my studio in Toronto. I have a photography business, a studio that I started up just January of 2020. So 2 months later, COVID hit, and it was consequently a slow couple of years there. But it's up and going now, and it's really how I spend most of my time these days. I do still work as an actor, and I do still audition. However, I'm a little more careful with what I'm auditioning for these days. I don't really have to take everything that comes at me, and I've kind of found this love, as an artist in my studio, and it's been really amazing to be here and to sort of shape my artistry, I guess you could say, over the past 5 years.
Well, let's start there. I have always been fascinated by photography. Your portraits are beautiful.
Thank you.
Do you use different cameras, or do you have a specific one that you use and just switch out lenses? What is your secret to capturing a person's spirit or a person's soul? You're not just taking a picture of a face. You're trying to get. And you may say, David, that's complete BS. I'm taking a picture of their face. I don't know what you're talking about. But I get the impression in looking at this that you're trying to capture a piece of them and waiting for the right split second that them comes out, as it were. Or am
Yeah.
I just completely BSing?
No, you're bang on. I feel that, when I started this as an actor, I've had, about 10 headshot sessions myself. Some
Yeah.
were good, some were not so good. And I pulled, whatever information I could from those experiences and decided that this is how I'm going to approach, my photography and taking pictures. Overall, I treat every session like being at a cocktail party to a degree. It's a very intimate experience, to have your picture taken. There's just two of us in here usually. Sometimes there's a makeup person. Um, and it's not, like you said, it's not just, hitting the trigger. It's really about a conversation
Yeah.
and kind of, cutting people open a bit. There has to be a level of trust, right? I think my job as a portrait photographer, especially for actors, is to get people to stop on your picture, right? Whether you're right or not for casting. If a casting person, or, if you're trying to find an agent, I want people to spend time with your photograph. And so there's got to be something there. I call them destination photos. So you probably see them, if people are like too smiley or, furrowed brow or that kind of thing, you're sort of taking us somewhere. And I don't think it's as interesting as, being a little more open. And I think in my photos, my objective anyway, is to capture people, and there's a question, like everybody's thinking something. They're all thinking something. And, if you're looking at those and going, what is that person thinking? Then it's a win for me, because I'm getting people's time, and time's the most valuable asset you have. And if I can make that happen in a photograph, then I'm doing my job. And it's a challenge, and I think everybody should have a really good picture of themselves.
Do
And I
people
don't,
go ahead?
there's like, I don't use backgrounds and stuff. I don't distract. It's just about the person. And this is my studio behind me, and so I'm limited to a degree. But one of the things that I felt I needed to do was to make everyone's photograph as unique as them. So there's similar setups, like even those three photos right there. They're kind of against the wall. Well, the guy on the right's not, but that's paper.
Yeah.
But I approach from a different angle, and I light everybody differently because everybody's face is different. And It's pretty amazing too when you start doing things like split light and backlight, rim light. Like these things introduce a different element, and it's, as a photographer, I feel more like an actor than I do as an actor quite often. Like in the purest sense, when somebody comes in here with 10 wardrobe changes, we're literally building a story, and it's just us.
Yep.
There's no director, there's no writer, there's no makeup. Maybe there's a makeup person, but you get what I'm saying. It's like, it's very limited, and it's really like pure acting. It's a conversation and direct communication, and hopefully a win. And I've had a couple of people come back just because we didn't cover enough, but other than that, it's been really great. I'm finding that thing in everybody that makes them happy.
Wow. Are you exclusively an actor, photographer, or can people come to you and say, I want you to see me?
I do.
And you know what I mean by that.
Yeah, I do. I have some corporate clients, which is, kind of bread and butter, and it's certainly helped me during COVID. And, actors, it's all very cyclical, right? We had COVID here, so nobody's really acting. Yeah. And we had a SAG strike, and then we had a writer's strike, or maybe it was writer's strike, then SAG strike. I don't know. But that, in Toronto, that stuff really affects us. We do a lot of American production up here. So if there's no stuff going on, they don't have money. So, actors aren't coming in. So I do have corporate contracts, and I do some fashion. I do models. Models need portraits, and I'm sort of branching out and expanding into that. I've always enjoyed fashion, and it's something that I feel like, I started out as an actor 33 years ago, and when I did, it's a long time, and done it longer than I haven't. And when I did, headshots were literally, it was a shot of your head.
Yeah.
Right.
Black and white often. Yeah.
It was all black and white.
All black and white.
You're totally right. Yeah. Color wasn't, it was like, ooh, you got money, you got color. Like we used to have to go to the agency to pick up scripts, right? Because nobody had fax machines. It was like, and then when people started getting fax machines, it was like, oh, you're a successful actor, you have a fax machine. And then if you were really successful, you had like a plain paper fax machine. Right? Because everybody would show up with a thermal paper and have to straighten it out. And then
yes.
Highlighting it, and it would all go brown. And
That's
I'll never
so
forget
true.
that. I don't know. Maybe it was even Michael Shanks, like being in the North Shore studios, and you would sit like, because you'd have to show up, and there'd be like 8 other guys in the room, and somebody's getting the job, and you'd look around. It's like, oh, he's working because he's got a plain paper fax. Look at that. It's going to be a problem.
For sure. What Lockwatcher? I usually save the fan questions till the end, but Lockwatcher, what wants to know what led you to pursue this in addition to your acting? Was it I need more things to fill my day? I need an extra I need a little bit of extra income, or was it like, I think I have something here artistically that I want to share with people, and the sharing is actually extracting things out of people and presenting them to the world? Where did this really jumpstart for you?
Well, so I've always, when I was in grade, so 12 years old, my mom put me in this sort of summer school where we did these photo courses through the Toronto Board of Education. And I had that experience like a lot of photographers do, where you go out, you shoot, you process your film, you hit the enlarger, your paper goes into a tray, and all of a sudden this image is there. And it was like magic, man. I was like blown away. It's like literally stopping time. And I went, this is so cool. And I'm kind of a solitary person. I spend a lot of time by myself. I'm not a big crowd guy. So it really fit. And for the longest time, I was a photographer who focused on landscapes and cityscapes. And then my partner, her name's Karen LeBlanc, and she was on a show called Ransom that shot in Budapest. So we were there for just about a year on 2 different occasions. I'd been on the show in the first season, but my friends were coming through. So I'm like, day off, let's go for lunch. And I had my camera with me, and I started taking portraits. And then people started using them as headshots. And I thought, this is cool. This is really great. Yeah, well, it was just like, here, how can I help you? If you like those, totally use them, and I feel like that's ultimately what I'm trying to do is
Yeah.
is like, I like actors. I don't hang out with a lot of actors, but I'm an actor, and I understand how difficult it is to do this job and be successful in this kind of environment. So if I can do something that's going to lift you up, I'm totally going to do it. I'm totally going to do it. Um, but what I found was that I was learning things about my friends that I never would have known if I didn't have the camera and we weren't doing that. If we'd just gone to lunch, the conversation wouldn't have been the same. And
Mm.
so it was kind of this odd introduction to people that I thought, wow, this is cool, because I'm a very curious person, and I'm fascinated by people's stories, how they got to where they are, who helped them, things that have brought them up, things that have taken them down. People are totally fascinating, and we're all very similar. It's interesting that way.
Mhm.
So that was sort of the start. And then Karen said, "Hey, you should get a studio and like do this." So she found this place for me, and it's just a very short walk from our house, and it's become very much a home for me. As an actor, you're an artist, but literally 99% of the time, you're not doing anything. You're just sitting.
It's a lot of waiting.
You're waiting. And now in this environment where, like, I said before, we used to go into the waiting room, and meet people, and there's the director and there's the producer, and they're right in front of you, and that doesn't happen anymore. So there are more auditions now. You self-tape at home, and it's kind of a very, very much a vacuum and difficult. And we're artists ultimately, and so we're artists who don't have the opportunity to practice our art per se. If I was a musician, a guitar player, whatever, singer, so I could go out in the corner. You know what I mean? But you can't really do that. I guess you could go out in the corner and do monologues, but
Yeah.
you might look a little weird.
Well, yeah, for
You
sure.
know?
But the thing I think that most of all frustrates me, based on the conversations that I have had with actors, is that with Zoom, you don't get to take a note on the spot and pivot and show, oh, yeah, let's try this. Okay,
Yeah.
because the casting director wants me to see if I'm flexible, wants to
Yes.
show if I'm willing and able to take direction, and
Yeah.
instead, you know, you don't always even get a thank you for submitting your video anymore.
Yeah.
And
No.
God knows how much of it they're actually watching.
I have some stories. I won't get into them, but yeah, it's difficult. When the people were in the room, it was assumed that if you're in the room auditioning, you can act. So it's not about can you act. It's, do I like this
Right.
guy? Is Matthew smart? Does he have some interesting questions? Can he take an adjustment? He's going to be like, we're looking for a series regular on this. We're going to spend 6 months together. What's it going to be like with this person? So and now we're not there, and everything is so protected. It's, like, you don't get scripts. There are shows where, like, Star Trek was called Tennessee Honey. Do you know what I mean? And they were literally writing scenes that had nothing, they weren't part of the show, because they're so concerned about things getting distributed
Leaked.
online, and I understand that. However, it makes things very difficult, because it's like, we don't know what the characters are. I don't know. Some of these things are brand new shows, so there's nothing to reference.
Hmm.
You don't get the script. You're not even getting the scenes.
Hmm.
Is this even a real character, or just do we want to see this guy in front of the camera? It's hard. And then once it goes out, it's out. And I talk to my friends, and people used to have like 1 out of 12 average, are now 45, 50 auditions.
Gosh.
Because people, you can see a lot more.
Yeah,
You can see a lot more people, because you don't have to set aside that 2 hour window to see 8
that's true.
people.
They've cast a
You can
wider
see,
net for sure.
absolutely. And
Yeah.
so it's interesting. I don't know if it's improved anything. I don't really see an uptick in the quality of television or the acting. In fact, we live in an odd time. It's shifted. We create content now,
Yeah.
you know, and
So,
it's we're trying to,
mm,
all the streamers are just trying to grab the audience, grab the subscribers, and so you need to be generating new stuff all the time. And when I was in high school a long time ago, there wasn't a lot of TV, but the season would go from September, right through Christmas. They would have some specials. There was 24 episodes. One of my first jobs was a show called Total Recall 2070, and it was a show that went 24 episodes right off the bat. There was no pilot. It was like, no, we're shooting this thing.
Mm-hmm.
And, those days now would do, 6, 3, 4, slated for 6. It's not working. We're canceling it after 2. But shows used to be, well, if it's not working, let's move it from Tuesday to Thursday. Let's, get a new cast member in there. Let's replace this. Let's see what another director's like. They would make things, I think they were a little more careful with what they were developing. Maybe not. Maybe I'm just making all this up.
No,
I don't know.
There's less of a willingness to try to show something mercy before we give it the knife. I think there's something, or the axe. I think there is a loss of a willingness to try to make something work. Star Trek 1960s, Lucille Ball had such great faith in the idea. They ordered a second pilot. That never happened then. It would certainly never happen now. And now if you don't bring in a certain number of eyeballs with a certain completion length on, for instance, Netflix, you're cut.
That's right.
And I think we've really lost something. And I'm waiting for the adult to come in the room to say, being able to see this many people is great. What has it gotten us? How have things improved? I think we need to sundown this filming from home thing, get people back in to see one another, see if they can take direction in person. Because I'm hearing stories of actors who, only know their Zoom experience, and then they're going into the production on the set and they're freezing, and they're having to unplug the whole thing because they haven't had it. This is their first moment in the frying pan, and I don't know, man. I'm not necessarily convinced that it's all sunshine and rainbows with these changes.
It's it's nerve-wracking to walk on a set and there's 60 people staring at you while you deliver.
Yeah.
In fact, that second Ethon, right? That second episode I shot there, that opening scene was like, I hadn't been there for 2 years.
Yeah.
That's like, they've got the camera set and it's okay, Matt, deliver. And that's like 3-4 pages of exposition. That was my first day, and that's nerve wracking. And the main cast is staring at me, and they're sitting down and I'm standing up, and it's like, it's really hard. And if you haven't done that before, I think it's totally unfair to throw somebody into that kind of environment. You could like emotionally crush somebody. It's like it's difficult. Like people think it's acting. I think not everybody, but there are a lot of people think that it's a very easy thing, and it's not. It's incredibly demanding and difficult. And to go in and your objective and your job as an actor is to move the camera. You're just a widget in the story. There's not a lot. You're like literally somebody else is telling you what to say. Somebody's pointing where you should go. Matt, can you point to the TV here because we need to cut away and we're going to do a VFX shot, and you know what I mean? Somebody's feeding you, somebody's putting makeup on you, somebody's guiding you to set. There's very little that you actually do as an artist, but you deliver. I kind of lost my train of thought there. I was going back to the first question. Actually, why I'm a photographer is because I'm an artist that, as an actor, you don't have a lot of opportunity to practice your art. And if you are an artist, I think that most actors are, people come in here and I'll ask, what else do you do? Are you a painter, musician, writer, photographer? What do you do? Because if you're a real artist, you have this thing that you need to express. And as an actor, you're not really doing that. You know what I mean? It's like you're kind of limited. You're delivering dialogue, really.
Yeah.
So yeah, your job is to move the camera and get it out in one take and move on, right?
Yeah.
That's because time is money, especially on set. Like, let's go.
I had a friend. I made a friend when I was living in the Philippines for a while. We went to a place called El Nido, probably one of the most beautiful places I have ever been in the world. This lichen on these giant gray slabs of rocks just jumping out of the ocean. If you fell on one, you wouldn't get up too quickly.
Right.
And I was photographing her all day with my stupid little iPhone. gorgeous girl, inside and out, in her bikini, and she was, with one of these other buddies that we met, and I really got like into her personality. And by the end of the day, I wanted to take some shots of the two of them together with the sunset, and I had her turn profile view, and she's covering up her nose. She doesn't like the shape of her nose, and she knows that that's being completely accented by the sunset. And I'm like, why are you doing that? And I'm not saying this because obviously something about her that I admired all day was driving her batty. And I would imagine, correct me if I'm wrong, that when you're seeing things in people and wanting to bring them out, there are some circumstances where they don't want those things to come out that you're digging up. Those are probably traits of themselves that they don't necessarily want to share more vividly. Or is that not the case with you? Like you're seeing certain things from someone in a portrait that they're generally coming to you willingly and openly, so they know what this is going to be. But have you ever accented or brought into greater focus a part of a person's physical nature or personality that they didn't like? They're like, no, I don't care for that.
I think it's inevitable when you look at somebody, right? Like people ask me, can you help me with my selects? Can you help me pull pictures out and what's good? And I always say no. I never pick the same photos that my clients pick.
Wow.
I see different things, because I'm not them. One of the things I'll do is I'll always look at a person's Instagram account, right? See if they're doing
what are they curating?
Shots, what are they favoring? And what I recognize in that, and I get it, but your experience observing yourself is limited. You're not lit, right? I use strobes, man. It's like there's a little window behind me, but it's not really enough to shoot. And it has bars on it because we're in Toronto here. And so everybody looks like they're in jail. So I can't use that. So, it's like I fire light at people and shape their face and show them positions that they haven't seen before, angles of themselves that they haven't seen before. I'm very careful about what I don't shoot tethered, which means that I'm not connected to a monitor. And I do that on purpose. I feel like it slows down the flow, number one. And number two, I don't want people to see what's going on, because if they see something and it's something that they don't like, I can't get them back in to the environment, and get some good shots. And often if I have the time, the things that they think may not be attractive, they'll see it, that it's attractive. It's interesting about you. It's like, it's unique,
They have to give you the chance to find it.
Yeah. You just got to, it's like, look, it's like, and the thing is, most people are taking pictures with their phones. It's like a phone is not a camera. It's a camera, but it's not a camera. Right? You can control the aperture to a degree, but even the lens itself and the depth and the, you know what I mean? It's like, it's a different deal.
They're not there yet. No.
Yeah. They're awesome. The cameras are fantastic, but it's not a studio camera. It's just, it's not real professional glass, and it's not a professional mechanism to take photographs with.
Canon, Nikon, what do you use?
I use Nikon. And Canon people are like, what? But I use Nikon. My main studio camera is a D810, which is an old camera. They don't make them anymore. I don't even know if they service them anymore. I don't buy new gear.
Yeah.
I refuse to buy this. I have two new lenses. I have a Z system as well. I have two Z6s, so I can shoot video for corporate events. But they're like the mirrorless. I like the weight of a camera. I have a grip on it, so it becomes a box. And I've got two lenses that more than two, but my 24-70 2.8, and my 70-200 2.8. Those are the things that are on my camera, and they're heavy, and it makes me feel like I'm doing something. It's a weight, and I'm participating in this thing. And I like the sound of the shutter. I love that sound. It's, when I started out, if you were doing it as an actor, if you were on a cool TV show, you were shooting 24, you were shooting real 35 mil film, right? And you could hear it going through the machine, and it did something, you know. It sort of like it elevates everything. You can hear that film running. And I do, you know, I'll use my mirrorless cameras outside, but they have like a fake shutter sound that
Really?
sounds like yeah, it's like it sounds like a
It's an
cheap sound,
aesthetic?
like yeah, it's aesthetic. And it's because there
God.
is no shutter, right? It's mirrorless.
No.
But
Oh,
they
that.
have
Oh, I
this
see what
thing
you're
in.
saying. Yeah. No, that
It
sounds awful.
sounds like a silencer on like a bad movie, like on a gun. And you know, it's just like, ooh. And it's light and smaller, and it's just, I don't know. I love to be connected to the thing, right? And
Mm-hmm.
I find that, you know, so I'll always have a DSLR
There you
and
go. You know how to
shoot
have a
that.
good time, don't you?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
I apologize to everyone out there who these two guys are like, okay, enough with the photo.
Enough of the
I
cameras.
love it. I love it. I'm sorry, folks. When did you learn about Stargate? I mean, obviously, you know, you've got Total Recall 27. That's a Bridge Studios production, MGM property, if I'm not mistaken. It's one of the things that Stargate came out of, along with Outer Limits and Poltergeist and a couple of the others. When were you first aware of it? And tell me about your first role, named Ted in the script in Point of No Return, SG-1 Season 4 with the beloved late Willie Garson.
Yeah, that was kind of cool to work with him. You know, you have these experiences as an actor, like later on, like Ernie Hudson, right? He was in the,
Oh God,
right when I was
it's
Jared Kane,
Ernie.
like, oh my God, there's Ernie Hudson, you know, down
Yeah,
the floor with Ernie Hudson is like, you know, and
right.
you kind of geek out a bit. It's like this, you know, you grew up watching this guy, and there he is.
There he is.
Stargate was a show, you know, I spent time in Vancouver, obviously, and well, not obviously, I spent time in Vancouver. And when Stargate started, it was a pretty big deal. You know, it was like a big show. And I finally got on it, and they were casting Canadians, you know, because a lot of American product, they bring up Americans, especially in Vancouver, because it's a 2-hour flight. It's like, it's nothing. It's like traffic in Toronto, you know. Like I was out in Mississauga today. It took me hour and 15 to go 25 kilometers. So what's that? 12, 13 miles.
Yeah, around there. Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like you can just fly, you know, you fly down to LA. It's the
Mm-hmm.
same amount of time. So they were hiring people, and it was a big show. And you know, at the time, and you sent me the episodes, and one of the things that impressed me was that it was like the effects were cool. Like that was dope. Like that was good stuff.
Yeah,
You
it's
know,
not
it's still
cheaply put together.
no,
Especially
a
by
lot of
season
it
4, the
still
production
holds
is
up today. Yeah,
yeah,
a lot of it still holds up. There's a couple things where you go, okay, I can see
sure.
it's of a time, but you know, that was a pretty big deal. So yeah, I got on the show, and it was Ted the alien. You sent me that. I didn't watch the whole thing.
It's
It
fine.
was really weird because that's like 25 years ago,
Yeah.
and I didn't even like recognize myself. You know, like,
That's
who
not
is that?
me. Nope.
In a weird way, I felt like I looked older, even though I could plainly see that I was younger. There was something about my haircut, the clothes they had me in, like I had that trench coat, like because you wouldn't know I'm an alien.
Right,
You know what I
exactly.
mean?
We're
Yeah,
deserters? We're deserters. We're
right,
humans. Yeah.
right,
So,
right. We're
wow.
human.
Any memories of working on Point of No Return?
Um, yeah, I worked with my friend Mara Andersons, who I met on that show, and we became not fast friends, but good friends. And every time I'm back in Vancouver, I will look him up. And really great sense of humor, and we've shared a lot of beers and laughs and conversations over the years. It's always amazing when I find, like in my career, if you look at my resume, I play a lot of bad guys, and I'm usually alone, right? I don't get those jobs where I get to hang out with, you know, there's a partner or something like that. I'm just like, I'm always alone, or they'll give me 3 thugs who are background performers, and they don't let us hang out. You know what I mean? They make them go, they separate us, right? So it's like, it's really cool when I've had those opportunities to work with people and spend time and make friends with other actors.
You know, it's
That's
interesting.
something
You were talking
lonely.
about your solitary nature. You know, something about that is coming out in, you know, in how you project yourself as well. People look
Mm.
like, this we can put this guy in a corner and then call on him when he's needed.
Interesting.
So,
Yeah, I hadn't thought
there
of
may
that
be a
actually.
connection there that you're not even
Yeah,
aware of. So.
probably. Yeah, I'm gonna think about it now.
Jonathan
Yeah, I think
Frakes
that
said the
most.
same thing, before he was cast as Riker. He was like, I'm these awful human beings. They're making me murderers and pedophiles and rapists. And, thank God
Yeah,
for Riker came along. But yeah. Uh,
yeah. I think a lot of. I'm a very curious person,
mm,
and I observe a lot. So it's sort of, I can talk to anybody
hmm
really, but I just kind of, I don't know. There's something about just checking everything out that's sort of fascinating to me, and um, you know, it's just it's who I am.
Yeah. And I think when you're one on one with people, that's when you can best uncover, who they really are underneath. I think as a portrait photographer, if I was placed in your shoes, I wouldn't just want to go in and go for it. I would be like, okay, let's have the person talk with me, and that will and pull them out a little bit, and that will inform the magic that we're going to make together. So, because you have to
Absolutely
pick a
right.
direction, it can't just be
Yeah,
random.
it's the same. It's like, and that's what it is. It's finding that common ground,
hmm
the commonality, um, exploring who they are, trying to draw something unique about them out, and
hmm
then capturing that. And I'm shooting digital, but I treat it like film.
mm
I don't fire away 1,000 shots. It's like, no, it's
mm.
very careful and planned, right? And it just makes it more of an experience, and I'm not fast. I don't move quickly. And if I ever get going and I find that it's not quite happening, I'll just stop.
Mm.
Just stop, and we'll have a cup of coffee and hang out and reset, like you would on set,
Mm.
you
Uh,
know.
are you typically an hour with them?
Oh no, I'm more than that. Like
Really?
actors I'll spend, yeah, I'm just hanging
Wow.
out. Like this is like the best job. It really
Yeah,
is.
for sure.
And we're making something. It's like the best acting experience, It's like we're making this stuff happen. So an hour is like a couple setups. I do,
Oh,
4 or 5
wow.
setups, 6 setups,
Wow.
and everything sort of, you bring in your clothes and we start like, oh, check this out, and let's
Okay.
shoot this, and let's try that, and let's change you here, and let's do this, and
Okay.
what's this look like, and oh, that's cool, let's go here, and how about if we think about this, and what's this experience like for you, and then you capture it. My job is to make the selection process very difficult.
That makes sense. Not predictable. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like I want you to have a hard time choosing your photos. That means that I've done my job,
Mm.
you know?
You have tremendous success in Battlestar Galactica,
Mm.
and I'd like to talk about him later. Uh, but Jared Kane was introduced in an episode of season 8 called Icon, a home planet of Tagalis. And it is a planet where the people have they've kept the Stargate secret, if I'm remembering correctly, but the crap really hits the fan inside of and outside of the Rand Protectorate when knowledge of this thing uh, exists, and it brings the people to nuclear war. Um, who was this guy to you, especially with his wife? We saw a lot of that the side of that story through Daniel. And what do you recall from that first episode?
That was probably the first episode of TV where I really felt I was doing something special.
Mm,
They made the uniforms for us. That had never really happened before. Like it was like literally taking our measurements and making us stuff from fabric, cutting, sewing,
wow.
and so there was that vibe and just the uniform itself.
Yeah.
And the fact that there was this sort of historic bent to it, like if you looked at our rifles, there's
Mm-hmm.
something very practical about that. That was like, again, that appeared sort of in Battlestar, right? And what
Mm-hmm.
the Battlestar was, this sort of, it survived because of its history. Um, I recognize the story, it's not uncommon. It's around the world. There are uprisings like that all the time. There are wars like that all the time. And there was this character that was out fighting, for the people, essentially. It was a great job. It was the first time I'd worked with Michael.
Mm.
Um, he was awesome to work with. We had a great time, spent a lot of time hanging out. The stuff we did there was a lot of walking and talking in that show, a lot of walking and talking. But we were outside for it, which was great. And I remember the days, there was 2 days where we did it all, and it was like very late spring, early summer. And, it was one of those moments where you go, this is just an incredible job. I have the best job. Like, overall, between action and cut, acting is wicked job. Like, I can't think of anything better than it. It's a pretty amazing job.
Mm.
Yeah, there was a lot of other things about it. There was the shootout scene, that sequence.
Very violent. Close
Yeah,
quarters.
we
Earplugs.
there were a lot of earplugs in there, man. It was like we shot 10,000 rounds, and you don't see that. That's what that sort of struck me actually when I watched it recently, is like how little of that we saw. Like, we spent a half day just firing, and it was all in studio, and it was very loud, and we all smelled like gunpowder, and it was, pretty hardcore. And then, it's like anything with filmmaking, a lot of it hits the floor, right? It just doesn't make it into the cut.
For sure. No, there's a lot going on there. I've had the pleasure of getting to know Rob Fournier rather well, and the
Yeah,
amount of
Rob's a
stuff that
great guy.
has to go into this is just mind blowing. The
Yeah,
amount of stuff, like you say, that doesn't get seen, that ends up
yeah.
on the proverbial cutting room floor to make the final piece. It's outrageous in some cases. 10,000 rounds. I'm not surprised at all, and that's a lot of money.
Well, they had
He
the
had to
machine
load all
guns and all this
those.
stuff, right? It was
Yeah.
a big deal. It was a big deal. They had set still photographers out as well.
Hmm.
So you always know, like, it's like, oh, this is kind of an important episode if they bring photographers out to shoot on set. That was all happening. There was just so much about it. It was just a very cool experience.
Was did anything resonate with you in terms of the story? Both of these episodes are really dark, especially the second one with how the second one ends. Um, you have a people who are basically trapped by their the people at their border, the Caledonians, if I'm not mistaken, and the then in the second one with the Ori coming from above,
Mm.
um, giving them advanced technology, but ultimately, I mean, they could use it to destroy their own planet. I love sci-fi as a metaphor for turning things back on us and showing us just how bad they can be if we take 1 inch of a wrong turn just a plunge into a terrible direction. And we see
Mhm.
that come to life in this one.
Yeah, yeah. It's again, it's something that's very prevalent today. You just
Hmm.
have to look around the world, and it's, that, like you said, it's a great thing about science fiction, is it's a mirror.
Hmm.
And unfortunately, the stories really don't change over time. They just continue to repeat. We don't seem to learn as as human beings, and how hard fast we're stuck on whatever, particular religious leaning we
Hmm.
have, or, our ideology. And
Hmm.
it's like, if you're thinking something else, then we cannot be friends, and you've got to
Hmm.
go. The absolute refusal to cooperate, I guess you could say. And it's happening today. It's remarkable. It's just remarkable.
Ron Moore, put it into Battlestar, and he said he stole it from Peter Pan. All of this has happened before, and it will happen again.
Hmm. Yeah.
That resonates with a lot with me. I think about that all the time. Um, when you look back on these episodes, do anything stand out in terms of the production value, the quality of the folks that you were working with, in terms of what it was that they were creating? It's 8 and 9 seasons of a 10 season show. They've
Yeah.
really refined their craft. Did you
Yeah.
pick anything up along the way?
When something's running that long, it's obviously found a rhythm,
Mm.
and a bunch of things that works, including an audience. And it's not that audiences, if you can create and hold a fan base, then you've got something and you're doing
Mm-hmm.
something right.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what I knew about the show at that point. It's like, oh, this is a big deal.
Mm-hmm.
I've done some, been to some conventions, and it's a very powerful unifier. I did a bunch for Battlestar,
Mm.
bunch. I did some for Battlestar, and my takeaway from those was how a lot of those events and these shows are things that bring people together,
Yeah.
and so the sci-fi convention was an opportunity for friends from different countries to come and see each other, and they have this common bond, and it's not just like, people, you meet people from every walk of life, from every kind of possible job, and they have this thing in common, you know, and it's amazing. Like as an actor, as a film actor, so if you're in front of the camera, you're working in a vacuum often. You don't know who's seeing this. You don't know what their reaction is. You don't know how important it is, if it's important at all to them whatsoever. So, to go into a show that's like, season 8, season 9,
Mm-hmm.
you know that it's important to people. So that's cool. It's significant. You hope that you will have a positive effect. Your character will, it's not about being liked, but will resonate,
Mm.
and have a positive effect on people and maybe help people see things, right? That's all really storytelling is. It's the human experience, and you're trying to relay that, and bring comfort to people, not only entertainment or, distraction, but education to a degree. You know what I'm saying? It's like, I don't want to educate you, but maybe you'll see something in this story. These themes were relevant,
Yeah.
and they're current. They're current. And so, this is a problem, right? If this is still happening today
Yeah.
and they're talking about it, then this is, something that I need to look at.
They'll making you aware of different ideas. Not because necessarily your ideas are wrong, but maybe there's another way of doing something. I
Yeah,
think that sci-fi is best when it's not beating you over the head because, well, you're that way and that way just can't be. It's like, okay,
yeah,
well, let's open up the doorway for some questions. What else can there be?
yeah,
What else can
absolutely.
we do?
Introduce the idea of critical thinking and perspective,
Yeah.
right? You know what I mean? And to show a balanced story, which I think both of those episodes did.
Mm-hmm.
A little, maybe in the second one a little heavy-handed, but it's like, here's a point of view here. Here's what's happening.
Yeah.
Um, and that's that's the ticket, right? Like if you can, and I don't want to use the word educate, but if you can show people that there
Mm-hmm.
is more than one angle to things,
Mm-hmm.
then I think you've got something and you're succeeding as a storyteller.
When you got the role of Aaron Doral, if I may take a Battlestar tangent for a little bit here,
Sure.
uh, it's a mini series. They'd hopefully want to go to a series like the original did. Did you know that you were auditioning for a Cylon, or did that come later? Was it a surprise to you in the script when you got to the end of it and he was suffering from radiation sickness from the nebula? Or I'm curious as to
I
how
didn't
you were
know.
exposed to that.
Yeah, I didn't know until I had read the pilot
Okay.
script. So I was, here's a little fun fact for you. I had auditioned, that was hiking Corrine in Vancouver. I had auditioned for something. I don't know what part
Mm.
exactly. My callback with Michael Reimer
Mm-hmm.
was for the part of Baltar.
Okay.
And I walked in the room and he said, "Yeah, that's been cast.
Okay.
But I really like what you're doing. Can you read this?" And so he gave me the part of Doral. And the audition was the whole opening sequence, which I had never seen before. So he's like, "Go outside,
Oh, God.
let us know when you're ready." And it's literally it's a 2-page
It's
monologue.
a walk and talk.
Oh man, I was sweating on the day.
Ah.
That was like, that's a lot of pressure, right? That was a oneer. And they were shooting film, and that guy with the steady cam, like, he's a big dude, and he was carrying like 100 pounds of film, and it was all I was setting the tone because everybody had a cross, so I had to be in certain places so things worked and blah blah blah.
For
But
those who are
anyway,
not familiar with the opening, it's not the first shot, but the first look at CIC and the surrounding corridors. It is one take, and people are doing this for about 5 minutes.
yeah, and it was all on set and just continually moving around, and I was kind of leading the show that way. So the audition, he said, come back in. So I went back in, and man, I had a good time. I'll never forget it. He was just such a generous and kind person, and he is. That's it, talking about him like he's not dead. Michael's still around. He's like, do it like a circus performer. Do it like this. Try it like, let's do it like this. Let's try it like that. I spent 45 minutes in the audition room, and we were just doing it all these different ways. When I came out, the waiting room was filled with people. It was filled, and everybody
With
was
Aaron
doing
Doral's? Pardon the pun?
No. That's
Oh,
just
okay.
it. They were all there for other parts, but everybody was looking at me like, why are you taking so long in there, man? What's going on?
It's Reimer. He's historically, I mean, he's known for going long. Trisha Helfer and Katie Sackhoff have talked about 18-hour days in some cases, and you got how many pages in? It was a different pace on that show. I don't know how he got away with it with all the, with overtime.
Well, he made the show.
Yeah.
He totally made the show. And you could, as an actor, I've been on a few shows where you walk on set and the camera starts going and you're like, oh, this is special.
Yeah.
This is a really special thing. I did a show called Rewind. It was a pilot. I think it was CBS. It was a time travel show. And Jack Bender, from Lost, and it's been around since the 70s. And I thought there was a couple scenes. I was the bad guy, and they were gonna be chasing me through time. And being on that set, I'm like, oh, this is a show. This is going to, and it actually it didn't go. So I was wrong that time. But other times I have been right. And it was like that on Battlestar. It was like this show, there's something really special about this, and it's going to translate and people are going to watch it. And it's very cool just because of how it was approached and the set and everything. They made all the clothes, like all the suits that I had.
Those darn suits, man.
Awesome, right? Awesome.
Right.
The teal suit.
Yeah.
Now, I fit in that suit for 5 seasons. So that's something there.
That's not easy to do, folks.
I know it's not. The silk shirts, like that was like vintage fabric that they got from New York.
Wow.
And it's just this stuff fits you, and you just, when you have clothes fit you like that, it's like it helps so much. It helps so much in what you're doing.
The Battlestar was a completely different speed. I remember for Stargate, I sold the stuff for Stargate SG-1 in Atlantis when it was completed, and every episode, everyone had new costumes, new clothing. For you guys, it was 1 or 2, and that was it through the entire run. I think I'm sure it wasn't a cost-cutting thing. It was probably just to show the wear and the age of things as we move forward. Not necessarily for the Cylons, because they can reproduce ad infinitum for most of it, but the show is wearing everything down as it moves forward. The frickin' ship dies just before the end. And that was just a different energy. Is there anything from Battlestar that you take with you to this day that was just so profound? That meant something to you?
Yeah. I thought overall that the Cylons were the coolest characters. We were supposed to be the bad guys, but I felt like we weren't. I felt like we had a direction, and we were all in many ways more human than the humans. If you look at Edward and
Mary.
Yeah, just like they were bad people.
You could make, under certain circumstances.
They did some bad things.
The Cylons also wiped out 50 billion people.
Sure,
you guys
got to go, right? You got to go. We were steadfast in what we were doing. And I also recognized that it was a show for a family. Like when I had people coming up to me, it would be like people stopped me on the street. It was everybody in the family was watching the show.
Were you pinching yourself during those 5-6 years?
Yeah, man. Absolutely.
My gosh, it took off.
It's like
Holy
I'm part
cow.
of this thing. Yeah. And I had it was enough. It wasn't like it was overwhelming.
Yeah.
It got me to a lot of conventions to
Yeah.
meet people. It got me to travel.
Yeah.
It pushed me as an actor. I felt like I was part of a family, which sometimes is difficult in environments like that. Like we were making something.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody on the show, nobody was really a star, right? When it
Mm-hmm.
started out. And through the years, it's like the sort of you can tell how big the show is or how far the reach is by how many executives are standing behind the monitors. And when it started out, there was just a couple people, and then throughout the year, it sort of grew. There were more guys standing there, with their
The,
arms crossed, and everybody wants their little piece, and it's
the
like, you
cooks
know
are
what I
coming
mean?
into the kitchen.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's totally it. And sometimes it destroys a show. I've watched all of the episodes,
Mm,
and there's a couple that were sort of, they're okay,
yeah.
but overall, it's like, wow, that is an amazing body of work
Yeah.
and quite an accomplishment to do that in the face of success, right? Because like you said, like cooks in the kitchen, things get boiled, watered down, and become fragmented and off focus and off story, and as everybody tries to please all the different people who are putting money into it. And it didn't happen with that show, which was great. It's a lot of power there to Michael, and
Mm.
keeping control and dipping in every once in a while, and who they hired as well as directors, and the fact that they gave people multiple episodes. I don't think that there was anybody really who showed up and just did one episode,
Mm.
right? So they were very careful about who they were bringing in.
For sure. Yeah. I love the show, and it's timeless. I always think back to Trisha's line, "Are you alive?"
Mm,
And you've got Ryan Robbins. I think it was Ryan Robbins say, "Yeah," and Trisha says, "Prove it." It
yeah,
set the
yeah,
tone for the entire
yeah,
show. It really did.
yeah.
I could talk about that for an hour, but I've got a couple more before. Are we good for a few more minutes?
Sure.
Okay. Marcia Middleton, you were in some episodes of Degrassi: Next Generation. Were you a watcher of the original, and anything specific from that production?
Um, no, I saw a couple episodes. I've
Okay.
seen a couple episodes. I don't really watch a lot of TV.
Okay.
Um, I kind of, I don't know. I like to be doing things,
Mm.
and I find it difficult to sit down. I don't have, attention deficit or anything. I just like, I don't know what it is about watching TV. And I don't watch myself. Like I don't, the only time I'll watch something is if I think, oh, there might be something for my demo reel. I need to see this. And
That's
I
fair.
don't do that. I don't do that because I've found 9 times out of 10, when I look at the end result, it does not match the experience that I had on set. And it's like I did that a few times and went, oh, I don't feel so good about it. Not that it was a bad thing. It's just like my experience
So
was
much more
different from what
profound.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's like when I watch Battlestar and myself, it's like it kind of, it's like it's a little underwhelming. There's something about being there and having that visceral and
Yeah.
that experience. It's pretty awesome, and it's easy to pull away from that.
Well, go with
So Degrassi,
Galactica. You've got a 6 year master class. I mean, my gosh, with those performers. I apologize. Go ahead.
yeah, no, absolutely, and that was the other thing too. It was just so easy to work in that environment. Everybody was just so good. You know, they were just so good. It just upped your game. So Degrassi, I'd seen a few episodes and earlier episodes as well. And that was like when when I got there, it was you talk about a well-oiled machine. It was pretty remarkable how quiet the set was, how well it ran, and what really struck me was how polite everybody was.
Mm.
The kids, I'll call them the kids. The kids were super polite. It was kind of like it was kind of unnerving. They were just so polite and nice, and it was just it was kind of weird. It was unexpected, and I saw it's like, oh, this is why the show's successful.
Mm.
This is why this sort of translates, and these kids translate because this is them.
Yeah.
They're not acting. They're there, right? So yeah, it was a great job. 2 episodes. I think we shot it all in one day. You know, I'd been out for it a couple of times. I think that was my fourth or fifth audition for the show, which happens every once in a while.
Mm.
You know.
Are you happy with the place that you're in now? in terms of balancing the passion projects that you have. I mean, going back and forth between the photography, and then, if something, I love how you say, if something really pops at you, if something really comes up that you want to go for, then you'll go for it. Are you happy at this point in your life with how everything is in place? Or is there something that you've just not attained yet that it's like, you know what, I'm waiting for something else to come along that I really can sink my teeth into, but right now I'm really content where I am until that happens?
That's a great question, and it's something I'm actually have had conversations with Karen about, and something I'm thinking about often. As a photographer, I'm certainly fulfilling a certain part of myself as an artist, a big part. And I find like I'm really creative in here, and I'm allowed to express myself and create things with people. I'm interested to see where things go in the future with regard to filmed entertainment and AI and how it's changing things. And I kind of believe that there's probably going to be tiers of entertainment. Like at some point, Netflix will probably have a subscription base that's like $6.99, but it's all AI. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
which is inevitable. I have this idea that the golden ticket in like 10 years will be live theater, because people will be hungry perhaps for a human experience, and you'll all be in a room together, and you'll know that the people up there are real. They're not, because some of this stuff is like good, man.
Can't tell some of this
You,
stuff anymore.
yeah, and that's like within a year. It's like
Yeah,
you
that's
used to be able
correct.
to check the mouth and go, that's not moving right. That's
No.
and now you're like, I don't know, and the voice sounds the same. Like it's perfect,
Mm-hmm.
right? So where does that go?
Mm-hmm.
Um, and unfortunately, I've I read they were talking about Spotify and how they're the algos are like will pull what people are listening to and create music, right? That becomes successful. So there's no real human behind it. It's just this thing that's created. And what struck me was that people overall, when they were polled, they were like, "We don't care. We don't
Mm-hmm.
care." Which is like that's dangerous to me.
Mm-hmm.
That's and here we are. We're at this point. So
It's true.
back to your question, I feel like as an actor, after all of these years, I've never really been tested. I've never reached my full potential. And I don't know what that job is. But I think that if you take not my whole resume, but the majority of it, and piece things together, different parts, it sort of speaks to almost of all of what I can do. But I don't think that I've seen that script where I went, that's totally not only my wheelhouse, but I can excel at that to a huge degree. And I don't know if that will ever come up.
Mm-hmm.
I realistically have to look at my age now,
Mm-hmm.
what stories are out there, what's being told, what's popular. It's difficult to get things made. People are like, well, why don't you make your own stuff? It's not that
Well,
simple.
yeah, sure, but no, it's not. It's not that
Yeah, it's
straightforward.
not that simple. The technology's out there, and that's a remarkable thing. Like you can go, to your local camera store and buy something for under, 10K Canadian that Netflix accepts. It's a
Yep.
total like, and that's like, what?
Yeah.
Like I said, when I started out, if you were on a successful show, you were shooting 35 millimeter.
Mm-hmm.
If it wasn't a successful show or was less budget, they would shoot Super 16 and do a blow up, and those film cameras and the lenses and the processing, and that all costs money. And now it's just
Mm-hmm.
like, it's not the same. Sound is not the same. Like it's all what you can do on your laptop is
Yeah.
remarkable,
Well, the medium in some cases now is largely irrelevant. Flow, the Oscar winner, was made in Blender. One guy did it. I forget
Right.
over how long, but the art is the artistry there. And does it have
Yeah.
something to say? But not only does it
Yeah.
have something to say, is it something that resonates with people, because you
Yeah.
can, the perfect role may come along for you and hit you like a cinder block as soon as you read it. It's like, that's the one.
Yeah.
But does it necessarily resonate with people, and does it get in front of the right audience? These are all things that are in flux.
Absolutely.
So,
Absolutely. And that's, and you need audience, you need people to see.
yeah.
So, I guess like I haven't seen anything for many years where I read it and went, I will fight for this. Like I
Yeah.
will, you hear those stories of guys that are like, oh, that's, I went over to his house, or I made this special tape, or, I haven't seen that. It's, it's something that I find a little disappointing about the business overall, is
Hmm.
that there's a lot of, it's the idea there's only 7 stories, right? But there's variations on them. But I see a lot of things that are very similar. Like when stuff
Hmm.
comes through audition wise, I often go, well, I've already done this. That was this
Right.
job here, and that's this part here.
Yeah.
Even with shows that are like, you have audition for, like, okay, I'm not taking away from Reacher here, but there's a genre, right? And there's characters that are, you plug in these characters and they make the show work,
Hmm.
right? So it's like I've had 3 or 4 auditions for Reacher, and quite frankly, it's just they're kind of the same
But
guy.
people eat it up, I'll
Oh, for
I'll
sure,
never forget
absolutely.
Stephen King talking about in his book On Writing, how test audiences drove him nuts, because he's got an idea and he doesn't want the test audiences to come and say, well, it'd be greater if they did this, and he admits it in the last line. The funny thing is, unfortunately, test audiences seem to work.
Yeah,
And it's like with the AI now, you've got a test audience like built in, because based on whatever inputs you feed it, it's going to spit out, well, give me the next big movie. It's going to spit you out something that, were you actually to go and create it, it's probably right, but it
yeah, it's
doesn't
probably going to
necessarily mean that
work.
it has any
That's
substance after a
that's
year after it's
well,
come out.
true, true, but maybe within that scope of that, you can, make an adjustment that
Yeah.
does make it stand the test of time.
Yeah.
If you look at like Psycho, right? Like Hitchcock killed the lead, in the first 10 minutes. Nobody had ever done that. They're like, what are you doing? And it totally worked. I don't
Hmm.
know if AI, like maybe AI has the story and then you just put that twist into it. I'm not too sure. But, interesting times ahead, that's for
That's
sure.
for sure. We're all going to go through it together.
Yeah.
um, I think
Yeah.
I think we need to stay vigilant, and I think we need to be brave
Mm.
and not lose our humanity, because it's going to be very easy to. More of these kids are more associated with their devices than they are with us.
Yes.
I fear for that. I fear us truly becoming Cylons. Um, but there's certain things that you just can't stop. Um, so th- I am grateful to the time that we've had together. I really think I've gotten to take your photo a little bit here, and tap into you as an artist. And I am thrilled that you have this outlet to
Mm.
continually explore um, your discovery of humanity, one person at a time. That's really
Yeah.
cool, Matthew.
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah. Thanks, David. It is very cool. I'm having a human human experience.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right. I'm going to go ahead and wrap up the show on this end, but it means a lot to me that you took the time to come and stop by and share yourself and your art. And really appreciate your time.
Well, thank you for the invitation, David. It's been great speaking with you, and I wish you best of luck with the show you've done. That's a lot of work, man. You've done a lot of work there.
People are continuing to tune in. Something's working right. It's this is my creative passion, is getting. It's not unlike what you do in terms of getting the substance of someone out and sharing it with the world, and
Right.
it's not easy. But if God gives you a talent, go. You ignore it at your peril. So,
Yeah.
especially if it's
That's a
something that
great
you
way
you
of,
would do it for free, you know.
yeah.
Yeah.
Just don't tell them.
That's it. Exactly right.
Don't tell 'em, right?
Thank you,
Yeah.
sir.
All right, David. Thanks a lot, man. Take it
Thank you.
easy.
Be well.
Okay. Bye bye.
Matthew Bennett, everyone. Jared Kane in Stargate SG-1. That was cool. I often, when we get talent to come on, they have a different facet of themselves that they are willing to explore with us. And in this particular case with Matthew, he's got a clear path in another neighboring industry to this that is just that fits right in and allows us to explore him a little bit more. And plus, I love photography, if you haven't figured that out. So I apologize for taking so long on that, but that was a really awesome discussion. I appreciate you all tuning in and joining us for this episode. We've got another couple of shows heading your way tomorrow, and it's not slowing down anytime soon. But before I let you go, if you enjoy what you've seen in this episode, I would really appreciate it if you'd click the like button. It makes a difference with the YouTube production. On the production side of things, it will continue to help us grow our audience. Please also consider sharing this video with a Stargate friend, and if you wanted to get notified about future episodes, click subscribe. And giving the bell icon a click will notify you the moment a new video drops, and you'll get my notifications of any last-minute guest changes. And that's basically what we've got for you. Clips from this live show will be released over the course of the next few weeks on both Dial the Gate and GateWorld.net YouTube channels. My tremendous thanks to my producers, Anthony Rowling, Kevin Weaver, Linda Gategaber-Fury. These are the folks that make this show continually possible. My moderating team: Anthony, Jeremy, Kevin, Lockwatcher, Marcia, Raj, Summer, and Tracy. That list gets longer. It's because I need them. And big thanks to Frederick Marcoux over at Concepts Web. He keeps dialthegate.com up and running. Claire Rankin, Dr. Kate Heitmeyer from Stargate Atlantis joining us tomorrow morning at 10 a.m. Pacific time. And then Gary Chalk, Colonel Chekhov, is back for Stargate Trivia 11, I think. We've got about 12 or 13 folks involved in this one, nearly half, you've never seen these people before. We're going to be moving through all these trivia. We're going to make them sweat. If you ever watch one Stargate Trivia episode on Dial the Gate, this is it. Come back, because we've got some surprises in store in terms of how this is going to be structured, and we're going to have a really good time. And I'm throwing myself into the meat grinder as well. So I hope you can join us for that tomorrow. DialTheGate.com has the complete schedule of all the episodes, and some amazing people are getting together to make more shows with us here. Patrick McKenna and John Billingsley, the other guys themselves, are going to be joining us in early May, but the complete list is available there. My thanks once again to Matthew Bennett for being so open and sharing so much of himself. I appreciate everyone for watching. Thank you all for tuning in. My name is David Reed for Dial the Gate, and I'll see you on the other side.